Staff Sergeant Marcus Chun stepped carefully through the smoking wreckage, his rifle ready. The air on Kepler 442c tasted like metal and burning plastic. Behind him, 3 soldiers from his patrol squad moved in formation, their boots crunching on strange crystal fragments that sparkled like broken glass. "What a mess," whispered Private Rodriguez, looking at the twisted remains of what had once been sleek alien ships. The vessels were unlike anything in human design. Smooth curves and flowing lines that seemed grown rather than built. Chun raised his fist, signaling the squad to stop. Something moved in the distance. Through his scope, he could see shapes prowling between the wreckage. Local wildlife, probably drawn by the smell of blood and death. "Razor wolves," said Corporal Kim, checking her scanner. 6 of them. Big ones. Chun had heard about the creatures from mission briefings. 6-legged predators with teeth like metal blades and pack hunting instincts. They were the reason human patrols moved in groups and never stayed in one place too long. "They're circling something," Rodriguez observed. Chun adjusted his scope and saw what held their attention. A figure lay partially hidden behind a chunk of alien hull plating. Even from this distance, he could see the faint blue glow that marked alien blood. One of the ship's crew had survived the crash, at least for now. "Not our problem," Kim said quietly. "Orders are to avoid contact with alien survivors. Let command handle it." Chun knew she was right. Their mission was simple reconnaissance. Check the crash site and report back. Getting involved with alien affairs was above their pay grade and against direct orders. The brass had made it clear that first contact situations needed careful handling by diplomats and specialists. Not grunt infantry. But as Chem watched, one of the razor wolves crept closer to the motionless figure. The alien's blood glowed brighter, pulsing like a beacon that called to every predator on the moon. The creature would be dead within minutes. "Sarge?" Rodriguez asked. Seeing Chun's hesitation, Marcus Chun had joined the military 8 years ago, after his younger sister died in a hospital while he was deployed. He had been unable to help her then, trapped on a different world while she fought a battle she could not win alone. The memory still haunted his dreams. "Change of plans," Chun said, checking his ammunition count. "We're going to help." "Sir, our orders," Kim started. "I know what our orders are, Corporal," Chun cut her off. "But I'm not watching someone get eaten alive when we can do something about it." The squad exchanged glances, but did not argue further. They had served under Chun for 2 years and trusted his judgment, even when they questioned his decisions. Chun studied the scene ahead. The razor wolves were focused on their prey, which gave his squad an advantage. Human tactics were different from what most alien species used. Where they relied on advanced technology and overwhelming force, humans had learned to be sneaky and creative. "Rodriguez, circle left with the demo charges," Chun ordered. "Kim, take the right flank. Martinez, you're with me. We go in fast and loud." They moved into position with practiced efficiency. Chun had trained his squad in what the military called asymmetric warfare, using surprise and unconventional methods to overcome superior enemies. It was a very human approach to fighting. The aliens stirred weakly as the largest razor wolf approached. Chun could see more details now through his scope. The survivor was definitely female, with pale blue skin marked by darker patterns. Her armor was cracked and blood seeped from several wounds. Her people had the technology to travel between stars. But right now she was just as helpless as any human would be. Chun gave the signal. Rodriguez's explosives went off first, sending 2 razor wolves flying in a shower of dirt and rock. The remaining pack spun toward the noise, snarling and clicking their metal teeth. Kim opened fire from the right, her rifle rounds punching through their thick hides. Martinez laid down covering fire while Chun sprinted toward the wounded alien. The razor wolves were fast and smart, but they had never fought humans before. They expected straightforward attacks, not the coordinated chaos that Chun's squad delivered. When they charged Rodriguez's position, Kim hit them from behind. When they turned to face her, Martinez caught them in a crossfire. Chun reached the alien just as the last Razorwolf decided to abandon the hunt. The creature gave him a long, calculating look before loping away into the crystal formations. It had decided that this meal was not worth the trouble. Up close, the alien was even more unusual. Her skin had a subtle crystalline quality that reflected the moon's pale light. Her eyes were large and completely black, like looking into deep space. She wore armor that seemed to be made from the same material as her ship, smooth and organic-looking dot. She was conscious, but barely. When she saw Chun approaching, she tried to raise what looked like a weapon, but her arm fell back to her side. She spoke in a language that sounded like wind chimes mixed with static. Chen knelt beside her, setting his rifle within easy reach. He pulled out his medical kit and began examining her wounds. Human first aid training did not cover alien biology, but blood loss was blood loss, and trauma was trauma. The alien watched him with those black eyes, confusion clear on her features. Chun worked quickly, using pressure bandages to stop the bleeding and injecting her with a broad-spectrum painkiller. He had no idea if human medicine would help or hurt her, but doing nothing would definitely let her die. As Chen worked, his squad secured the area. They had saved one alien life, but now they had bigger problems. Command would want to know why they had ignored orders. The alien military that had left her behind might come back, and there were probably more Razor Wolves coming to investigate the sounds of battle. But when the alien's glowing blood began to fade to a healthier color and her breathing became steady, Chun felt he had made the right choice. Some things were more important than orders. "Sarge," Kim called out, "we need to move. This place is going to be crawling with hostiles soon." Chun looked down at the alien woman. She was stable for now, but moving her could reopen her wounds. Leaving her would mean certain death. Taking her would complicate everything. He made his decision. "Martinez, help me get her up. We're taking her with us." The alien woman was heavier than she looked. Chun and Martinez carried her between them, while Kim and Rodriguez kept watch for more Razor Wolves. They found shelter in a cave formation about a kilometer from the crash site. Chun set her down gently against the cave wall and began a more thorough examination of her injuries. The painkillers seemed to be working. Her breathing was easier, and the blue glow of her blood had dimmed to normal levels. But she had lost a lot of fluid and needed proper medical attention soon. She watched them work with those dark eyes, saying nothing. Chen wondered what she was thinking. Her people were supposed to be much more advanced than humans. Her ship had technology that human scientists could only dream about. Yet here she was, dependent on primitive human medicine to stay alive. "Can you understand me?" Chun asked, speaking slowly and clearly. The alien tilted her head slightly, but did not respond. Chun tried basic hand signals, pointing to himself and saying, "Human." Then he pointed to her and raised his eyebrows questioningly. After a moment, she spoke in that wind chime language. When Chun looked confused, she paused and seemed to concentrate. When she spoke again, the words came out in heavily accented but understandable English. "Valthari," she said, touching her chest. Then, with obvious difficulty, "I am Zixaria." Chun felt surprised. He had not expected her to know human language at all. "I'm Marcus," he said. "These are my soldiers. We're going to help you." Something like confusion passed across her features. She spoke again, the words coming easier this time. "Help? Why?" "You are. Your species is—" She trailed off, as if searching for the right words. Chun waited patiently while she gathered her thoughts. "We were told humans are primitive," she finally said. "Lower intelligence." Why do you risk danger for stranger? Rodriguez snorted from his position at the cave entrance. Lady, you don't know humans very well. Chung shot him a warning look, then turned back to Zixaria. Because it's the right thing to do. You were hurt and in danger. We could help, so we did. This seemed to confuse her even more. But I'm alien. Enemy, perhaps? This brings you no benefit. Doesn't matter, Chun said, checking the bandages on her arm. You needed help. Kim walked over from where she had been monitoring their radio. Sarge, still no contact with command. The solar storm is interfering with everything. We're on our own until it passes. Chum nodded. They had expected this. Solar activity on this system was unpredictable, and communication blackouts were common. It was one reason patrols kept their missions short. Zixaria had been listening to the conversation. Solar storm. Yes, my ship was caught in electromagnetic pulse. Navigation failed. We crashed. We? Chan asked. There were others. For the first time, real emotion showed on her face. Pain that had nothing to do with her physical injuries. My unit? 12 others. The crash killed 5 immediately. The rest. She paused. The rest followed protocol. What protocol? Injured slow down the unit. In combat situation, wounded or left behind. Resources saved for those who can still fight. She said this matter-of-factly, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Chan stared at her. They just left you? Standard procedure. I was unconscious, possibly dying. Taking me would risk others' lives for minimal chance of success. She met his eyes. It is logical. That's not logical, Martinez said angrily. That's messed up. Zixaria looked at him with genuine curiosity. You disagree? Your military teaches different. Our military teaches that you never leave a soldier behind, Chun explained. We take care of our own, even if it means greater risk, even if survival chances are low. Especially then, Rodriguez said from the cave mouth. Had a buddy who carried a wounded soldier for 3 days through enemy territory. Both of them made it home. Zixaria was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. Chun could almost see her reconsidering everything she thought she knew about human nature. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the sound of something moving through the crystal formations. Kim raised her weapon and moved to the cave entrance. Razor wolves, she whispered. Pack of them, maybe drawn by the scent of blood. Chun cursed silently. They needed to move, but Zixaria was in no condition to travel far. And carrying her would slow them down significantly. Exactly the situation her own people had wanted to avoid. The irony was not lost on him. How many? He asked Kim. Looks like 8, maybe 10. They're being cautious after what happened earlier. Chun looked at Zixaria. She had heard the conversation and understood the problem. You should leave me, she said quietly. Take your soldiers to safety. This is logical choice. Already told you, Chun replied, checking his ammunition. We don't abandon our people. I am not your people. You are now. She stared at him with those alien eyes. And Chun could see her struggling to understand something that went against everything her culture had taught her. In her world, the individual was expendable for the good of the group. Personal survival mattered less than mission success, but humans had learned a different lesson. They had discovered that the willingness to sacrifice for others, to take risks for those who couldn't help themselves, actually made them stronger as a species. It was why they had survived ice ages and plagues and wars that should have destroyed them. The sounds outside grew closer. Chen made rapid hand signals to his squad, positioning them for another fight. But this time, they could not rely on mobility and surprise. They would have to make a stand in the cave. Zixaria watched the preparations with professional interest. Your tactics are unusual, she observed. Inefficient use of firepower. Poor positioning for overlapping fields of fire. Maybe, Chun admitted. But we work with what we have. Your weapons are primitive. Your technology is limited. By all calculations, you should lose this fight. Rodriguez grinned at her. Lady, you're about to learn why calculations don't always matter. The first razor valve appeared at the cave entrance, its metal teeth gleaming in the pale light. Behind it, Chun could see the shapes of others moving in the darkness. Here they come. Kim whispered. Chun raised his rifle and prepared to show the alien woman why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most stubborn species. They might be primitive and illogical, but they had something that advanced civilizations often lost along the way: the absolute refusal to give up on each other. The razor wolves charged, and the cave filled with the sound of gunfire and alien snarls. But Chun felt confident they would survive this fight. After all, they were human, and humans never gave up. 2 days later, Chun's squad sat in a deeper cave system while Rodriguez worked on their damaged radio equipment. The fight with the razor wolves had gone better than expected, but it had used up most of their ammunition. More importantly, it had attracted attention from human command. "Signals coming through," Rodriguez announced, adjusting the radio frequency. "It's Colonel Hayes." Chun took the communication device, knowing this conversation would not go well. "This is Bravo 7, over." "Chun, what the hell is your situation down there?" The colonel's voice crackled through heavy static. "Satellite picked up explosions and weapons fire. Your last report said you were conducting routine reconnaissance." Chun glanced at Zixaria, who sat nearby listening. Her wounds were healing faster than human injuries would, but she was still weak. "Sir, we encountered hostile wildlife and had to defend ourselves. Wildlife doesn't explain the alien energy signatures our sensors are detecting. You want to tell me what's really going on?" There was no point in lying. Command would find out eventually. "Sir, we rescued an alien survivor from the crash site. She was wounded and under attack by local predators." The silence on the radio lasted so long that Chun wondered if they had lost the signal. When Hayes spoke again, his voice was ice cold. "Sergeant Chun, you are ordered to abandon the alien immediately and report to Extraction Point Delta. A shuttle will pick you up in 6 hours." "Sir, the alien has valuable intelligence about—" "That's not your decision to make, Sergeant. You've already violated direct orders by making unauthorized contact. Don't make it worse by arguing." Chun looked at his squad. Kim and Martinez were listening intently, while Rodriguez pretended to focus on his equipment. They all knew what this meant. Court-martial. Possible prison time. The end of their military careers. "Understood, sir," Chun said finally. "We'll head to Extraction Point Delta." He switched off the radio and sat back against the cave wall. 6 hours to reach the extraction point meant they needed to leave within the hour. The journey would take them through open terrain where razor wolves hunted in large packs. Zixaria had been quiet during the conversation, but Chun could tell she understood what was happening. "Your leaders are angry," she said, "because you helped me." "Yeah," Chun admitted. "We broke some rules. You will be punished?" "Probably." She was quiet for a moment, thinking. "I can provide testimony. Explain that the rescue was necessary. That I have information valuable to your species." Rodriguez looked up from the radio. "Would that help, Sarge?" Chun shrugged. "Maybe. Depends on how much trouble we're already in." Kim walked over from the cave entrance where she had been keeping watch. "Speaking of trouble, we've got a bigger problem. Storm's getting worse out there. Weather satellite shows it'll peak in about 4 hours. Chun checked his watch. That would put the worst of the storm right when they were supposed to reach extraction. The shuttle could not land in severe weather, which meant they would be stuck on the surface until it passed. How long until it clears? He asked. Satellite data says maybe 2 days. Maybe 3. Martinez cursed. Command's not going to like that. Chun was about to respond when Zixaria spoke up. The storm will not be the greatest danger. Razor wolves hunt in groups during electrical storms. The electromagnetic activity drives them into feeding frenzy. How do you know that? Kim asked. My people studied this moon before the war began. The creatures are attracted to electrical discharge. During storms, they form superpacks of 50 or more individuals. Chun felt his stomach drop. His squad had barely handled 8 razor wolves. 50 would be a massacre. Is there anywhere safe to wait it out? He asked. Zixaria nodded slowly. There are deeper caves. Natural formations that the creatures avoid. But the entrance is 3 kilometers through open ground. In the opposite direction from Extraction Point Delta, Kim observed. Studying her map. Chun faced a choice. Follow orders and try to reach the extraction point, knowing they would probably die in the storm. Or ignore orders completely and take Zixaria's advice, which would make their situation even worse when command found out. Rodriguez solved the problem by pointing outside. Sarge, I don't think we have a choice anymore. Through the cave entrance, Chun could see shapes moving in the distance. Lots of shapes. The razor wolves were already gathering for their storm hunt, and his squad was directly in their path. All right, Chun decided. Zixaria, lead the way to these safe caves. We'll worry about command later. She nodded and struggled to her feet. Martinez moved to help her, but she waved him off. I can walk, but we must move quickly. Once the superpack forms, nothing on this moon is safe. They gathered their equipment and prepared to move. Chun tried the radio one more time, hoping to reach command and explain the situation. But the storm interference was too strong. They were completely cut off. As they left the cave, Zixaria took point, leading them through the crystal formations with surprising skill despite her injuries. She knew the terrain better than any of them, pointing out hidden dangers and the best routes to avoid open ground. How do you know this area so well? Chun asked as they navigated around a field of razor-sharp crystal spikes. I was part of Advanced Reconnaissance Unit. We mapped this region for 3 months before the main fleet arrived. She paused to check their route. My job was survival specialist. Understanding local threats, finding safe zones, planning emergency procedures. Sounds like our kind of job, Rodriguez said, carefully stepping over a crystal formation that looked like broken glass. Zixaria glanced back at him. Your military has similar specialists? Sure. We call them pathfinders or scouts. Guys who go in first and figure out how to keep everyone else alive. She seemed to consider this. Perhaps our species are not so different after all. They moved in single file through increasingly dangerous terrain. The storm was building overhead, and electrical discharges lit up the sky in blue and purple flashes. In the distance, Chun could hear the razor wolves calling to each other, a sound like metal scraping against stone. There, Zixaria said, pointing to what looked like a crack in the ground. The entrance is small, but it opens into larger chambers below. As they approached, Chun could see she was right. The opening was barely wide enough for one person, but his flashlight revealed a cavern system stretching deep underground. You first, he told Zixaria. Then Martinez and Rodriguez. Kim, you were with me covering the rear. They descended into the caves, just as the first razor wolves appeared on the ridge behind them. Chun counted at least 20 creatures, and more were arriving every minute. The safe cave was everything Zixaria had promised: spacious, defensible, and apparently avoided by the local wildlife. Ancient crystal formations provided natural light, and an underground stream offered fresh water. This'll do, Chun said, setting up their defensive positions. How long do these storms usually last? 2 days, sometimes 3. The super pack will hunt until it passes. Chun settled in for a long wait and tried to process what had happened. In trying to save one alien life, he had led his entire squad into what might be a court-martial situation. They were trapped underground, cut off from command, with no way to explain their actions. But as he watched Zixaria sharing her knowledge with his soldiers, teaching them about local dangers and survival techniques, he felt no regret. She was alive because they had chosen to help, and now she was helping to keep them alive. Maybe that was what being human really meant, the understanding that survival was not just about the individual, but about taking care of each other, even when it was difficult, even when it was dangerous, even when it meant breaking rules. On the 3rd day, the storm finally passed. Chun was checking their equipment when Rodriguez called out from his watch position near the cave entrance. "Sarge, we've got incoming ships. 3 of them, approaching from the south." Chun grabbed his binoculars and climbed up to get a better view. The vessels were clearly alien in design, the same smooth, organic shapes as the crash ship they had found Zixaria beside. But these ships were intact and moving with obvious purpose. "Zixaria," he called. "Your people have come back." She joined him at the cave entrance, and Chun was surprised to see fear cross her face when she spotted the ships. "No," she said quietly. "Those are not rescue vessels." "What do you mean?" "Look at the markings. Red triangles on the hull. Those are elimination squad ships." Her voice became tense. "They have not come to save me. They have come to kill me." Chun stared at her. "Why would your own people want to kill you?" "Because I have been compromised. I have spent time with humans, learned your language, observed your tactics. In Velthari military doctrine, captured personnel who have contact with enemy forces become security risks." "We're not enemies," Martinez protested. "To my superiors, any species not under Velthari control is a potential enemy. And I now know things about human behavior that my government does not want known." Kim looked up from her scanner. "They're landing about 2 kilometers away. Looks like they brought ground troops." Chun felt anger building in his chest. These aliens had abandoned Zixaria to die, and now they wanted to kill her for surviving. It was exactly the kind of cold logic that made him glad to be human. "How many troops are we talking about?" he asked. Zixaria closed her eyes, thinking. "Standard elimination squad is 15 soldiers. Elite warriors with advanced weapons and personal energy shields. They will also have combat drones and orbital support." Rodriguez whistled low. 15 against 4. With superior weapons and technology. 16, Zixaria corrected. "I will fight alongside you." Chun shook his head. "You're still recovering from your injuries. And these are your people we're talking about." "No," she said firmly. "My people left me to die. My people now want to murder me for the crime of being saved by humans. You are my people now." There was something in her voice that reminded Chun of his own squad, the absolute loyalty that came from facing death together. Humans called it brotherhood, but maybe it was bigger than that. Maybe it was something any species could learn if they were willing to put others before themselves. "All right," he said. "But we do this smart. They've got better weapons and armor, so we use tactics they won't expect." "What kind of tactics?" Kim asked. Chun grinned. "The kind that got us through the Razorville fights. We're going to be very, very human about this." Over the next hour, they prepared their defense. Zixaria proved invaluable, explaining Velthari military procedures and weaknesses in their equipment. She also showed them how to jury-rig some simple energy weapons from parts of her damaged armor. "Velthari soldiers are trained for precise, coordinated assaults," she explained. "They expect enemies to meet them with similar tactics. What they do not expect is chaos. Chaos we can do, Rodriguez said, planting explosive charges in strategic locations around the cave entrance. The Valthari force arrived exactly as Zixaria predicted. 15 soldiers in advanced armor, moving in perfect formation with military precision. Their leader called out in the wind chime language, and Zixaria translated. He is ordering me to surrender. Says if I cooperate, my death will be quick and honorable. Tell him to go to hell, Martinez suggested. I do not think there is a direct translation for that concept, Zixaria replied. Instead, she called back in her own language, her tone making her refusal clear. The Valthari leader responded with what sounded like disappointment. Then he gave orders to his troops, and they began advancing on the cave. Here we go, Chun whispered. Remember, nothing fancy. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and keep moving. The aliens approached with textbook military precision, using energy shields and coordinated fire patterns. It would have been effective against another conventional military force, but Chun's squad was not conventional. Rodriguez triggered his explosives just as the lead soldiers reached the prepared positions. The blast sent aliens flying and disrupted their careful formations. While they were still reacting, Kim and Martinez opened fire from unexpected angles, forcing them to split their attention. Chun and Zixaria moved through the crystal formations, using human guerrilla tactics that the aliens had never encountered before. Instead of standing and fighting, they hit and ran, attacking from multiple directions and never staying in one place long enough for return fire. The Valthari soldiers were skilled and well-equipped, but they had been trained to fight other Valthari. They expected logical tactics and predictable strategies. What they got instead was complete chaos. Human soldiers who used their environment as a weapon. Explosives hidden in impossible places. Attacks that made no tactical sense but somehow worked anyway. And through it all, one of their own former comrades fighting alongside the primitives with desperate determination. This is impossible, Chun heard one of the aliens say in broken English. Humans do not have this level of combat effectiveness. Zixaria laughed, a sound that was both alien and completely human at the same time. You know nothing about humans, she called back in their language. The fight continued for over an hour. The Valthari had superior weapons, but the humans had superior tactics. More importantly, they were fighting for something the aliens did not understand: the idea that no one gets left behind. Every time Chun's squad was in danger, Zixaria was there to help. Every time she was threatened, the humans closed ranks around her. It was a level of mutual support that confused and frustrated their attackers. They fight like they are family, Chun heard one alien warrior say to another. How do we defeat an enemy that values the group over the individual? You don't, Zixaria answered in their language. That is what makes them stronger than us. The turning point came when the Valthari leader tried to call for orbital support. Rodriguez managed to jam their communications. With a combination of human technology and salvaged alien equipment, that should not have worked, but somehow did. Cut off from reinforcements and facing an enemy that refused to fight by the rules. The elimination squad finally made a mistake. They grouped together for a coordinated assault, presenting exactly the kind of target that Chun's squad specialized in. The explosives that Martinez had been saving for an emergency turned the alien formation into scattered survivors. The few Valthari soldiers who remained functional retreated to their ships and departed, leaving their wounded behind. Chun watched the alien ships disappear into the sky and felt a mixture of relief and sadness. They had won, but at a cost. Zixaria was now truly alone, cut off from her own species forever. But when he looked at her, she did not seem sad. She seemed free. So what now? Kim asked, checking her ammunition count. Chun looked at his squad and at the alien woman who had become one of them. They were all technically deserters now, having ignored direct orders and engaged in unauthorized combat. But they were alive, and they had saved someone who needed saving. "Now we figure out how to get home," he said. "And we hope Command is in a listening mood when we explain what happened here." Zixaria placed a hand on his shoulder. "Whatever happens, I want you to know, you have shown me something my people forgot long ago. The strength that comes from choosing to help others, even when it costs you everything." Chun nodded. "Welcome to being human," he said. 3 weeks later, Chun stood at attention in Colonel Hayes' office on the orbital station above. Kepler 442c. His squad was lined up beside him, all wearing their dress uniforms instead of the prison clothes they had expected. The court-martial hearing had been cancelled at the last minute, replaced with what Hayes called a debriefing session. Zixaria stood at the end of their line, wearing a modified human uniform that had been specially made for her physiology. She had spent the past weeks working with human intelligence officers, sharing everything she knew about Velthari technology and military tactics. "Sergeant Chun," Hayes began, "when I ordered you to abandon the alien and report for extraction, I expected you to follow orders." "Yes, sir," Chun replied, keeping his eyes straight ahead. "Instead, you ignored a direct command, engaged in unauthorized combat with an alien military force, and caused a diplomatic incident that required intervention from the highest levels of government." Chun said nothing. There was really nothing he could say. Hayes walked around his desk and stood directly in front of Chun. "What you did was insubordinate, reckless, and completely against military protocol." Chun braced himself for the consequences. "It was also," Hayes continued, "the most important strategic victory in the history of human-alien relations." Chun blinked in surprise. "Sir?" Hayes smiled for the first time since Chun had known him. "The intelligence that Zixaria provided has given us insights into alien technology and tactics that would have taken decades to discover on our own. More importantly, she has given us something even more valuable: proof that individual aliens can choose to ally with humanity." "I don't understand." "Sir, Chun, the galaxy has spent centuries believing that humans are a primitive, warlike species destined to destroy themselves. What happened on Kepler 442c proved them wrong. You showed that humans will risk everything to save a stranger, that we consider compassion to be a strength, not a weakness." Hayes picked up a document from his desk. "Zixaria has formally requested asylum with the human government. She wants to become a human citizen and serve in our military. She says, and I quote, 'I have learned that true strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. And I wish to stand with the species that taught me this truth.'" Chun looked over at Zixaria, who met his gaze with those dark alien eyes. Over the past weeks, he had watched her adapt to human customs and ideas with remarkable speed. She understood concepts like humor, friendship, and sacrifice in ways that surprised everyone who worked with her. "More importantly," Hayes continued, "word of what you did has reached other alien individuals who are questioning their own governments' policies toward humanity. We've had 3 separate contact requests from aliens who want to defect to human space." Kim spoke up from her place in line. "Sir, what about the Velthari government? They tried to kill one of their own people. That's been officially classified as a rogue military operation. The Velthari leadership is claiming they had no knowledge of the elimination squad's activities. Whether that's true or not, they're backing down from direct confrontation with human forces." Hayes walked back to his desk and picked up several small boxes. "Which brings me to the real reason you're here. Sergeant Chun, for showing exceptional courage and tactical innovation under impossible circumstances. You are hereby promoted to Staff Sergeant and awarded the Star of Valor." Chun felt stunned as Hayes pinned the medal to his uniform. It was one of the highest decorations the military could give. Corporal Kim, Private Martinez, Private Rodriguez, you are all promoted one rank and commended for exceptional service above and beyond the call of duty. After the ceremony, Hayes gestured for them to sit down. Now, I have a proposition for you. High Command is creating a new unit, a joint human-alien special operations team. The mission will be to establish contact with individual aliens who want to work with humanity and to demonstrate that cooperation between species is possible. Chun leaned forward. What kind of operations, sir? Rescue missions, contact situations, diplomatic protection. The kind of work that requires both human creativity and alien knowledge. Hayes looked directly at Zixaria. The kind of work that requires people who understand that some things are more important than following orders. Zixaria spoke up. Colonel Hayes, I accept this assignment. But I have one request. What's that? I want to keep working with this team. These humans saved my life and taught me what real loyalty means. If I am to serve in your military, I want to serve with people who share these values. Rodriguez grinned. Sounds good to me. We make a pretty good team. Over the following months, Chun's new unit took on missions that would have been impossible for either species alone. They rescued captured human diplomats from alien prisons, using Zixarius, knowledge of security systems and human ingenuity, to succeed where conventional military operations would have failed. They made contact with alien refugees who wanted to escape oppressive governments, using human compassion and alien understanding to build trust where none had existed before. Most importantly, they proved that cooperation between species was not only possible, but beneficial for everyone involved. The unit grew slowly but steadily. Other aliens began requesting transfers to serve alongside humans, drawn by stories of the squad that refused to abandon one of their own. Some came from the Velthari military, disillusioned with their government's cold efficiency. Others came from different species entirely, seeking something they had heard existed among humans but had never experienced themselves. Chun found himself commanding a team that included beings from 6 different worlds, all united by a simple idea. That strength came from protecting others, not from abandoning them. 6 months after the rescue on Kepler 442c, Chun received a message from an unexpected source. It was from a Velthari general named Kithara, writing in perfect English. Staff Sergeant Chun, the message read, I am Zixaria's former commanding officer. I was the one who made the decision to leave her behind after the crash. I write to tell you that your actions have changed how many of us view both humans and our own military doctrine. There are those among my people who believe we have forgotten something important in our pursuit of efficiency. We would like to learn more about human military philosophy. Perhaps there is wisdom in what you call never leave a soldier behind. Chun showed the message to Zixaria, who read it with obvious emotion. My old commander, she said quietly. She was always honorable, but trapped by our traditions. Perhaps those traditions can change. People can change, Chun agreed. Species can change. It just takes someone willing to show them a different way. As Chun looked around at his team, humans and aliens working together, learning from each other, protecting each other, he felt proud of what they had accomplished. They had started with one rescue mission that went against orders. Now they were changing how entire civilizations thought about cooperation and compassion. It turned out that being human was not about having the best technology or the strongest military. It was about the willingness to help others, even when it was difficult. Even when it meant breaking rules. Especially when it meant refusing to give up on someone who needed help. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans brought something unique to the community of sentient species, the Stubborn insistence that everyone deserved a chance at survival, regardless of logic or efficiency or tactical considerations. And maybe, Chun thought, that was exactly what the galaxy needed to learn. After all, they were human, and humans never gave up on each other.